And if you fall off the scooter, you get the same rate.
And I checked with Mike down at the bike store.
Yeah.
Because I saw a lot of them on scooters. And he said, I said, well, how much do these things cost? And he said, well, the cheapest one is $400. He said, but they come in and buy them. Well, like
I thought motorized scooters were not allowed. Can I see them on the shoulder?
Good morning, everyone.
I didn't see that. I did not see that.
Good morning.
see you're here. Oh, okay. Okay. But well, we have a lot.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our October meeting, which is really generated to getting input from the community on some ideas for next year. So thank you for being here. I know you have a lot of things going on right now, so we really appreciate your thoughts and input. So just to begin, let me turn it over to our co-chair, Teresa Keel.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I just wanted to take a minute and explain what we hope to accomplish today. So we did this last year. It was a big success. And what we do is we turn the meeting over to you guys, and you can tell us what you think we should focus on. It helps this committee, it helps the town council and town leadership. So I am going to, before we do that, I'm going to introduce everyone on the panel today. So I'm going to start to my right with Dan Rosenblatt and Chief Patrick Foley, and everyone knows Julie, and co-chair Mickey Hinman, Diane Fogash, Mark Cohen, Carl Tull, and Art Diver. Uh-oh, got a chair problem here. Diane, do you want to start with the areas of focus for what we already have for 2025?
This is basically what we have based our 2024 year in review. We did this in August. And going through it, we basically, we hosted a neighboring community for the 2025 planning workshop. That is what we're meeting on today. And we also had one, though, in March, that we had the other communities, South Bethany, Rehoboth, Fenwick, I think, Ocean View. We had other communities come in and tell us what they were doing also. And we were also present at the Ocean to Bay ride. We had a table there in April, and we had representatives at our other town events on the boardwalk and other places in town. Art, do you want to take the?
Oh, sure. Good morning. Again, there's a whole bunch of things we went over. This is just a small summation of some of them. We supported the J1 student workshop, which again is designed to try and build relationships between the community and the J1 student program, and that was very well attended and very successful. We had a table at the 4th of July parade where we distributed bike lights and other items to participants to again encourage people to do the right thing in terms of safety, and that was successful. We had a bike safety day, which was very successful. It was set up down in town, and it was a combination effort between our committee, the Bethany Police Department, and the Department of Transportation here in Delaware, DelDOT. And it was very successful. We had close to, 90 people, I think, came and were assisted in one way or another. And we provided various services at this event, we meaning the whole group. We helped inflate people's tires that needed it. We helped adjust people's bike seats if they needed it. We distributed free bike lights again so that people could put these on the front and the back of their bikes to help ensure that people were able to be seen, which again increases safety. We handed out maps that showed where people might want to consider biking. We handed out other material about the WAVE program, which will probably be referenced somewhere today, and it's again the town's specific safety effort, and WAVE is an acronym that I'm sure will be explained later. But again, it's something we continually promote. But the event was very successful, even though the weather was a little iffy that day and we weren't sure what kind of turnout we were going to get. I was very pleased with the success of the event. A lot of people came anyway, and we're hoping to do more of that in 2025. The next is expand the use of reminder videos. That's something we've considered, and again, this would be a situation where we could present the videos on a particular topic. So they wouldn't be long, it wouldn't be extensive, but it would convey a particular safety message out to people. And this is something we would consider perhaps showing these before some of the movies that are shown downtown over the course of the summer. Or we could try other avenues as well. But again, it's all part of just a basic method of communication. We want to try and communicate as much information to enhance people's safety as possible. Because when people are here in Bethany, we want them to have a good time, but we want them to have a safe time. And that's primarily the goal of this committee. And then we're also continuing to partner with other aspects of the community. For example, like the Mariners Bethel Church out here on 26. They have a wonderful program that, again, is designed to support the J1 students, where they will provide them with free bikes, which is great. And they'll not only provide them with the bikes, but they'll also provide maintenance to these bikes when needed later in the year. So we were out there supporting the program and distributing literature and T-shirts about the WAVE program, which again is designed to make sure that people are aware of things and they're doing the right thing while they're here in town. And we also got a chance to speak at some of the sessions where there were training provided to the J1 students. So we're doing a lot of things right now, and hopefully they're contributing to the community, and we'd love to have your feedback on any of the efforts that we've made so far. But we'd also, more than importantly, is we really appreciate everybody being here today, and we appreciate your perspective on the town, and we greatly appreciate anything that you would suggest in terms of things we can look into and perhaps do better in 2025. So thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you, Art. And before Mark's going to sort of take us through sort of our process for today, but I just wanted to reiterate what Teresa said when she was talking about the members of the team. It's really an incredible honor to be up here with these folks. They're so passionate. They've got such great energy, focused on the community. They put a lot of time and energy into this, so it truly is a true honor for Teresa and I to get a chance to work with this team. So again, I just want to thank everybody here for your time and effort. There was something else, but it just slipped by. Oh, I know what it was. So what we did do, the list that Diane and Art took us through, we actually, in our last meeting, stepped back a little bit and looked at how the season of 2024 took place and how it transpired. And so we did a little bit of a step back and reflection to say, what are the things that we thought were really impactful that we want to do, that we want to grow on and build on next year. So that's what that list is, really. So we're going to work on those, but we want to get your ideas and perspectives as well on other ideas and thoughts. That's really what today's devoted to, as Teresa said. This is your meeting. So, Mark, if you could just sort of take us through the sort of the process we're going to use for this, that would be great.
Thanks, Mickey. And welcome, everybody, again. If you saw the announcement of the workshop, it's an idea generation workshop. In other words, a brainstorming session. So we'd like to get as many ideas and thoughts from everyone who's in attendance, whatever's on your mind, big ideas, small ideas, and everything in between. We're not going to make decisions or debate the ideas, but we'd like to get as many ideas and possibilities for next year out there. So we're really looking forward to your helping us with that. I'm going to date myself here, but the point is to have 100 flowers bloom, so to speak, as they used to say back in the 60s when I was a little bit less gray. So really, we want to hear from everyone, and whatever's on your mind, please put it out there. No idea will go unconsidered. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Mark. The other thing we're going to do for the session, we're going to turn it over to you in just a second. We'll go one at a time, and we ask you to come to the podium and speak clearly into it so we can all hear you. This is also being broadcast across the
It's on
say,
YouTube.
the YouTube. Yeah, thank you, Teresa. The right word wasn't coming to mind there. That would be great if you do that. So what we will be doing is making notes to capture everything you said, and then that will become part of what we then take back and reflect on at our next meeting, really to sort of say, what are the things that we want to add to our list, okay? Does that make, from everybody on the committee, did that cover all the key points?
Yep.
So, great. I know what I wanted to share. The thought we were thinking about is we're going to try to group this into sort of at least 3 major categories, okay? Because I don't know where your ideas might come out. But there might be one that's sort of bigger kind of things that involve infrastructure, right? Bricks and mortar kind of ideas, all right? So that'll be one group of ideas. There might be some others that fall into this idea of like administrative kind of things that we can do fairly quickly, right? But do involve some kind of coordination with the town, the police, whatever, right? And then the last one will be sort of the things that involve addressing and engaging people's behaviors. That's sort of what Art talked about when he talked about WAVE and WAVE 2.0. I guess now it'll be Dan. Dan was sort of the originator of this. It's now going to be WAVE 3.0, right, to follow that. But it's about how do we engage people? How do we talk to people? How do we help change mindsets and behaviors around their safety and the safety of others? So those are the sort of the 3 groupings that we're going to try to capture ideas in. It might not fit in either one perfectly, but that'll help us segment things, and then obviously we'll have another category too for whatever pops up. Okay? Does it make sense? Okay, so let's turn it over to the floor, and we'll just go in whatever order someone's willing to come forward. Yeah, if you come up, Bob, please. Hey, Bob, if you would, name, where you live, your idea,
Okay.
and again, why you think it would be helpful.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity of the meeting. I appreciate the work that you all have been doing. Like Mickey, we walk a lot in the Bethany area, Bethany South area. I think the work that you all have done on this side of the highway is fantastic over the years and the improvements made. And I appreciate the work that was done by this group and the town for that part of the highway, the Collins Street walkway, the crossing light at Kent. So my comment is infrastructure and kind of communication administrative with the committee. There is areas for improvement on that side of the highway. One of the areas that I brought up multiple times with the police and with DelDOT is a crossing walk on 26. 26, there are times you need to take your life at hand trying to cross that road. And there are other areas. Another one is here at the intersection when you're walking on the other part of the intersection, that little right-of-way area that they have a crosswalk in. Not necessarily that you need a light, but maybe something like no turn on red, where it will stop those cars from just aggressively making that right-hand turn, because they're not looking at you, the pedestrian or the biker. They're looking at the traffic coming in, and can they make that turn in? So there's a number of areas that could be done with some improvement on that side of the highway. And again, I appreciate all the work that you guys have done to date.
Where on 26 do you think would be best to put a crosswalk or some kind of a flashing light?
I brought this up to the police, and who told me to talk to DelDOT. I called up DelDOT. DelDOT said the town needs to request this action. But probably from my standpoint is the first entrance to Candlelight across 26, right here, would probably be a good opportunity, because you don't have a crosswalk until you get to the church area.
Right.
So a lot of people are making that connection right here to go to the park, or like me swinging around and crossing over to the development where I live at over here. And there's a couple other areas that, I can go through, but this might, if you want that, I can put together that type of list for you. But it's just observations from a pedestrian standpoint and from a bicycle standpoint,
Right.
So,
Thank you very much, Bob. And if something else comes to mind, you can jump up again later, okay? Thank you.
Bob, can you actually give us your address and last name, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry. Cavallo, C-A-V as in Victor, A-L-L-O.
Okay.
And I'm at 508 Durrell in
Okay.
Bethany West.
Thank you.
Bob, just as a little bit of follow-up, I think there is some work going on and some thought that's been done around a crosswalk, and I think it's actually a little bit closer to, and I don't want to say exactly because there's some discussion about it, but closer to the Phoebos, actually.
Yes.
That with the rapid flashing beacon approach.
And that's an excellent thing because you got a lot of people going back and forth
Right.
at the restaurants there.
Yeah.
It's become a huge traffic. So I'm saying something at this end
Yeah.
as well. Not necessarily a blinking light type of thing, but just a crosswalk.
Right.
With the notification, hey, pedestrians have the right of way.
Right.
Because there were a couple instances, especially with those sand trucks, when they were doing the replenishment down there, they were barreling down the road down there. And I mentioned that to the police as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Would someone else like to volunteer their thoughts, ideas, perspectives? Thanks, Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Bergfeld, 414 Gibson Avenue. I think there's a lot of people that are on the committee here that have heard me talk about different things, and I just want to summarize real quickly for the other people in the room today and that are watching. Number one, I think the best thing this town can do is reduce the speed limit. There's no way, there's no reason that Bethany Beach residents have to be subjected to, and I get mad at it. I get mad about it. Because you drive through Dagsboro at 25 miles an hour, you drive through Dewey at 25 miles an hour, but you get to go 30 here, and thank goodness we have policemen that patrol, because if they didn't patrol and give tickets, that speed limit, that speed on 26 and 1 would be closer to 50. We've seen it. We saw the trucks, the sand trucks, and the speed kept increasing as it went on. But somebody did notify them, and somebody did talk to them, because they did slow down the last week or so. We walk 26 all the time. And so I think it just makes a whole lot of sense to get it down to 25. That protects both bicyclists and pedestrians. It actually even protects the drivers. There's lower speed limits. It equates to more safe. And I think that's the biggest thing we can do. And I think with the changes that are coming at LDOT, the changes that are coming at the state level, there should be some way to make that stick and have that done. The second thing is about physical structures for the bike paths. We spend quite a bit of time in Boulder, Colorado, and they've actually installed what you would call a miniature Jersey barrier. It's this high, about 1.5 feet high. It's actually bolted into the street, and it separates the traveled portion, the vehicular travel, from the pedestrians and bikes. And they seem to get along real well. In fact, it's really strange there. They actually plow those first before they plow the streets. They do have snow. We don't have any snow. We don't have to worry about that. So physical structures. And if it isn't that, the flexible, and I know they really cringe when you talk about it, but to put the little plastic posts every 20 feet that separate, because a lot of people driving down, if you watch, and we watch, because we walk to Wawa every morning, we see people on their phones, we see people talking to other people, we see people not paying attention, they're drifting, and there is no margin of error between the vehicle and the bike path. There's no margin of error. And a lot of times, it's not just the people in the cars. It's also the people in the bicycles. We've seen people side by side. We've seen people with little kids and wobbling. And it's really, really a danger to everybody. So a physical structure, and that doesn't include just 26, that includes Route 1, where we have lots of space for a physical structure that would be a pedestrian walkway. And that way you maybe keep somebody safe. I think there's a whole bunch you can do on training for both people driving and people on bikes and people walking. I am not a fan of the rapid flashing things because it puts people at ease when they're walking across. They think they can push that button, and we've seen it time and time again. They push the button, they walk right out. We've seen a lot of times where the first lane stops, the second lane doesn't stop, even though they're flashing. And if they're flashing red and it's a state law, you might get people to stop. But flashing yellow, it's not a mandatory thing. People will not even slow down, and they don't realize somebody's walking across, especially from one side of Route 1 to the other. The southbound won't pay any attention to the people crossing on the northbound. And so I think there's a lot of training that needs to be done for people. People have to realize that it's there for a reason, and that's what it's supposed to do. Now, my wife and I were unfortunate to be riding our bikes up to on Central, up to Route 1, and we stayed back because the traffic had released from this stoplight and was speeding up. Well, there was a lady in a white car who decided to stop immediately. She slammed on her brakes, and then the two cars behind her hit each other. And it was a family traveling together, and you see it all the time, and I'm sure Chief of Police Foley understands that and sees it all the time. There are even times that the police don't get involved, and there are accidents there from people running into the back ends of each other. And I think that's a training thing. I really think people have to know the limitations of the crosswalks. I also think, switching from there, that there are also physical things that can be done. There's also no reason, if you drive through Dagsboro, you stop at 3 stoplights. If you drive, or 2. 2 or 3, I can't. 3. Yes, 3. When you drive through Dewey, you stop at 7. And then they have 9 or 8 flashing separate from those stoplights. There's no reason we shouldn't have stoplights here. And if you think about it, you've already set up one down here to the south with the walkway that you've just done and Wellington Parkway. There should be one on the north side here. And there also should be one on Central, because we've seen that there's a lot of people that walk through the park and come this way because they don't want to go down, walk past everybody in the downtown area. They want to go to the beach, so they come through the park, and they walk across there. So there's really a high volume of people that cross there. And there's no reason that that can't be a stoplight that's timed to here. So when this one's green, that's green. So it doesn't slow anybody down. It just stops it and stops the traffic back there to allow people to cross Central. The same is true going on 26. There's no reason we can't have stoplights going that way. Half Moon Bay, we have one at St. Anne's, and obviously the previous speaker talked about one right up here at Candlelight. There's again no reason why there can't be stoplights there, and they can be timed. It's not like it's going to slow people down. It's just going to allow people to get across the street. By the way, I've talked about it before, this one. I know somebody had talked to DelDOT about changing this one right at Kent to increase the time, because literally I consider myself kind of in shape, and I can't get across there when it's green. By the time you get started and you're across, it's yellow and it's stopping you from traffic. So it's very, very short time frame there to do that. I think I talked about the speed limit, the physical structures. I think long-term, you have other plans, I know, for a walkway, maybe on Central. If that is handled right, I think that can be done. But the thing that I'm most concerned about is the width of the walkway, making sure that it's enough, and the width of the street, so the street can handle it. And I know that Central is not wide enough to handle two lanes of traffic and a walkway. And that also reminds me, there's another issue. As you're going on 26, it'd be really convenient and easy for the town and the state to put concrete in the curb, between the curb and the walkway. You see it in a lot of cities where there are, and on the south side of 26, it wouldn't make any difference if you put concrete up. So now you're making the walkway 8 feet wide instead of 5 feet wide. It makes a huge difference. I mean, when we're walking, a lot of times you're walking down and you're walking side by side, then we do single file. If there's a group of people coming, sometimes they won't break up into that, and sometimes they walk down in the bike lane, and that's just something that should not happen, because they're going to get hit by a bike. So if those sidewalks can be expanded, and it's very easy, dig up a little dirt, put some concrete in. You move the street signs into the curb. Happens all the time in DC. People get used to walking with barriers in the sidewalk. And so on the north side of 26 is where all the telephone poles are. But if you look at it, 95% of that sidewalk would be able to be 8 foot, because the poles only take up 1.5 foot. So just increasing that, it stops a lot of people. Even if we're walking and we go single file, people and they're running, they'll run into the street, which is a no-no. They won't run by us, and people, need more space. 8 foot is, and I don't think any time you should ever think of a sidewalk or a walkway that you're putting in that's less than 8 feet. I think it's just pretty much mandatory. I think that's about it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. So, Bill, I just want to make a comment. We don't want to get into just talking about each one of these. It's really some great ideas, recognizing that, and you referred to that, right? There's a lot of engagement, because those roads are actually administered by DelDOT, 26, Route 1. So there's a lot of work and negotiation involved with that. Even our previous mayor led an effort really with other towns, and I think they backed off a little bit to just lower the speed limit from 35 to 30, in just this segment. But that's not as you well know, an arbitrary decision Bethany can make. We got to make it in conjunction with DelDOT and that whole process. So, but some really good thoughts, Bill. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah,
Bill Yeah, just one sec. Bill actually, I think it was a year or 2 years ago, literally shared with us about a 3-page letter of about 5 or 6 major ideas. Bill, thank you for, I know some of this is included in that, and you've been additive to it, so thank you for reiterating that.
Yeah, your comment about the sidewalks and people walking in the bike lane when they're getting together. I see this particularly on the south side of Pennsylvania Avenue, where you have a bike lane and people park, but when they get out of their car, they walk in the bike lane to get to wherever they're going. If they're going downtown or if they're going to the beach, they're carrying chairs and they're walking with traffic as opposed to against traffic because they're not going to cross the street and then cross the street again. But in particular, that's an area where if you're a bicyclist, you've got to go into the street to avoid the pedestrians because they don't see you coming. You know.
Thank you, Carl. Please, Dan.
Thank you, Bill. I happen to think that I probably walk right behind you or something, because some of those same thoughts hit me all the time, and I don't use the language in polite company that I usually do when I see some of these things happening. So, and thank you for standing up. Thank you for standing up. Just one real quick question. When you were talking about the sides of Route 1, and with there are paint in the path that separates where bicyclists are supposed to be and where pedestrians are. Were you thinking of putting like the flexible poles that would separate bicyclists and pedestrians along that route? Is that something you think would help, or that wasn't what you meant?
Yeah, as they do in other municipalities, they put the physical barrier closest to the ground, and it's wide enough to still allow a breakdown lane.
Okay.
So there's a traveled portion of the highway, and then there's a breakdown lane, then there's a physical barrier, and then there's a bike path, and then there's another physical barrier that isn't, it's the poles, and then there's the walking part.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And that's going on both sides of the streets.
Thanks.
There's also to build on that. There's a lot of really good work going on that our colleagues up in the North Bethany Coalition are working on around the whole Route 1 and the trying to separate people, bikes, and cars. I know some of you attended that workshop they had last, I think it was at the South Coastal Library, with some really interesting designs to do that same thing and in a sort of a cosmetic or appealing way as well. So stuff we can leverage and think about. Thanks, Dan. Okay. Would anyone else like to? Thanks, Carlos.
I'm Carlos Gonzalez, 553 Fairway, and I'm a newbie to this process. I've been to a couple of the other work sessions, not necessarily workshops, but some of the other sessions. But I think part of why I'm here is the fact that there's been a lot more information sharing from the different communities and the different newsletters that are going on, and the BBLA and all of those things. So
Carlos, before you get started, Carlos Gonzalez.
Carlos Gonzalez,
and
553 Fairway Drive.
Great, thank you.
So I just wanted to throw out some food for thought, things that I've just have come up now. The subject we're dealing with is an extremely difficult one because there's so many different parameters that go into the equation. Size of the streets, volume, when people are coming here, people that ride bikes, people that don't ride bikes. But one of the things that always comes to mind for me is the awareness that we can do. I know that a couple of the ideas have been to continue to foster information sharing and all of that. I think that the awareness ought to be wide, not just for those who ride bikes, but for everybody, because we all should bear some responsibilities, whether we're pedestrians only or bikers only. If you're a driver and you're parking in a space like this over here, or Pennsylvania or wherever, you're as much responsible for figuring out what's going on with the traffic as well as those riding the bikes. But I'm not trying to excuse. My suggestion or my idea is not to relieve the responsibility of the bikers, but to assume or to put some responsibility on everybody else as well. Okay. Because I think in the awareness campaigns that you're running, I think they're great, and in the you're doing things in the different events that happen throughout the year, maybe including some community involvement statistics, if that's a way to kind of quantify how much involvement we're getting. One of the things that I've noticed, and this is why I'm here today, is because many of us in this town we're not full residents here. Some of us spend a lot of time here. Some of us spend all their time here. But one of the issues that I see is it's a lack of involvement. There's a lot of people that like to complain about stuff, but they don't participate. Okay, and so it's our responsibility to participate, to be educated, to want to help, to bring suggestions. I don't know if my suggestions are going to be any good or not, but I'm here because I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is. I'm trying to participate, and so through some of the things that I'm saying, they're all just things that have come up with recently, and some of the other things that I listened from these the other two individuals. I happen to agree with most of the things that folks said. The ones that I don't is because I really don't understand kind of the context of it. But all the suggestions that I've heard so far are really good. A comment that I would make about that new walkway that was done around Collins and Wellington, it's been great. We use it a lot, but again, there's still what we could call the scofflaws. There are people that don't respect, pedestrians that don't respect the fact that if it's a bike lane and there's a bike coming, you got to gather your group, or you have to rein in your kids that are walking around or whatever. That's the kind of responsibility that I'm talking about. Folks that are not the direct consumers, the bikers, ought to assume. And somehow that's difficult to achieve because it has to be voluntary. So the awareness campaigns can be geared towards changing people's minds in terms of that respect. That's kind of the theme, is how do you get people to, before you open your car door, look around to see if there's a bike coming, right? So those are the kind of things that in your little short videos, you can have short videos about it, or things like that. So I think that's all I have for right now. Again, I just want to reiterate the fact that whatever we can do and whatever the council can do in general about involvement and participation, because we see, and probably you guys see it, is you have a selected view of what's happening, and that selected view is primarily from those people that are permanent residents and those that want to get involved. And the majority of the population of this town are people that are not here all the time, like the luxuries, like the environment, like to whine about things, but don't get involved.
So, thank you, Carlos. And I know Carlos is pretty passionate about communication, even within our own community. He's taking the lead on that, so thank you.
Carlos, can I just ask you, how did you find out about today's meeting? Mickey. Okay, so.
I did see, I believe there was the
Okay.
The BBLA newsletter had an announcement, and I might have heard about it from another newsletter before, but I think that the process of awareness that some of these groups are going through is evolving in a really positive way. I mean, I get a lot more info to this year, these past 6 months than I did a year or 2 years ago in terms of what's going on with the community. Yeah. And in doing so, as these groups, or even the town council, as you put information out, solicit feedback in, let people tell you how they're feeling. So those people that are not involved today might find it easy to send you an email complaining, okay? So once you do that, you're engaged.
Right, and to your point, this is the whole purpose of today's workshop.
Correct.
So we did send it out through many different channels to try to get a good group in here. And again, as Mickey said, this is being broadcast on YouTube, so we can get comments after that. So I applaud you for being here. Thank you for that.
So I think that those kind of efforts are hopefully are going to make a bigger difference going forward.
Yeah. And one other comment, Carlos, you talked about engagement. One way to do it is with actual community groups, and it's not on that list. We actually had that on our action plan for last year. I know you were probably there. We actually showed a couple of videos at Bethany West about a year or so ago, right? I don't think we're quite as successful with doing that last year as we were the year before. So that's another avenue that we can pursue. So any of you all that are here that are representing a community and say, look, you'd like to have a couple of us show up and just have a discussion about this, please do. I mean, it falls back a little bit, Carlos, to everyone taking their sort of a higher level of accountability to say, hey, this will help. Let me try to organize within our little community, and we'll be glad to support it with however. So yeah. Thank you that's a great reminder. Thank you.
Sure.
Please, Dan.
I promise not to talk all day long. Carlos, thank you for those wonderful recommendations, and thanks for being here. And by the way, everybody who's mad is welcome here. That's the best way we're going to learn a lot of good information, I think. But when you were speaking, it occurred to me that awareness generally in a public about a problem, and I know I'm going to date myself here, but this is like Smokey the Bear, right? Smokey the Bear, and saying only you can prevent forest fires, only you can prevent some of the safety issues that we're facing here. I think it's a wonderful recommendation, and I thank you for that.
I think that broadly my recommendation is broader, but you got to start somewhere. So this was a good avenue to come discuss it. I think that a problem we have and we got to solve, and I say we, even though I'm not here permanently, I'd like to stay involved, but a problem that we got to involve is get people to participate, because people love to whine, but when it comes time to participate, crickets.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Carlos. Anyone else like to, please?
Yep.
You're fine.
I'm Lee
I see
Bunting,
you,
84 North Atlantic Avenue,
okay.
and I'd like to talk about the intersection in Atlantic and Garfield Parkway.
Okay.
It's one of the most busiest intersections in the state. If you look at it, it's almost like an 8-way intersection, and the volume is incredible, especially when a busy night in the summer. You have walkers, you have strollers, you have kids, you have people talking on their cell phones, and right now I equate it to, it's like the Wild Wild West. Whoever's there first, whoever's the most aggressive, whoever is the most frustrated gets to make the turn or go. I've seen, older people in fear that they're going to get run over. I've seen their parents watch a little kid. They're not watching one, and the kid goes out in the street. I think as a city, as a town, we can do much better controlling that intersection. I used to think it was maybe a crossing guard or a policeman, but I'm not sure that's the right answer, just because of the sheer volume of people that go through there. I would suggest the town do a traffic study of just that particular intersection, and maybe the one at Pennsylvania as well. Possibly you could, at a certain time or certain days, close the street after all the parking things are gone, so you wouldn't have as many people just making that circle. Or actually close the little loop at the top that goes around the bandstand, so you wouldn't have as many possibilities of turning and growing. But some type of control, because people want to have a good time when they come to Bethany Beach. That's sort of the center of town, and it's a nightmare, I think. People get by it and they go on the other way, but for those, or it could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes sometimes to be able to cross. And I just like to bring that to attention of the town.
Great. Lee, and I think I've had the pleasure of talking with you a couple times about that, and I think the idea of you certainly spurred some thought around the whole traffic study piece around that, to really get some data around that, the number and the likeness. I think we've done studies before, but I'm not sure it's really focused on that, and there's certainly a high potential there. If somebody makes a really bad decision at a bad time,
Scooters, you have blaming things on youth, but teenagers, they just blow through.
You wait a long time.
It's crazy.
Didn't you also have one more? At least, didn't you want to? We talked before.
I think you need a parking spot for bikes, a bike rack here at town. I just came up, and there's no place to park for your bike. And in fact, there's a bike parked at the bottom of the entrance to the police station, which blocks the accessibility. I mean, I don't know why we don't have a bike rack at Town Hall.
Right. Thank you. I know you had shared that before, so I wanted to get that on the record. Thank you. Thank you. Mary Louise? And I want to, Mary Louise, thank you and Diane. We talked about community connection. BBLA has been a key way. Diane serves in that board, and Mary Louise, of us working together. So Carlos, that's an example of how we can leverage that even more so, right, in other communities. So,
thank you, Mickey. And I'm Mary Louise Embry. I live at 413 Bethany Drive, and I'm going to represent myself and also BBLA. In terms of representing myself, I agree with everything I've heard today, because when you live in a 1 square mile town, you expect to walk. That's kind of why you move here. You want to be able to walk. You want to be able to ride your bike. And and then later, when you can't do those things because we get old, you want to drive, but you want to drive safely and not be avoiding all these situations constantly. It's only 1 square mile. I think it should be a complete priority of this town to do a study. I second that. Have the professional look at every aspect. It's only 1 square mile. What would be best? Because what we have going on now, has been mentioned, people don't obey the rules. We keep trying to improve things, and I appreciate that. But I see constantly, I know because I report on this kind of stuff, you're not supposed to have the scooters. You're not supposed to ride your bicycle on the sidewalks. But the people do it all the time. And as citizens, you can't say, well, I've tried. Tell these kids, don't write, it's a sidewalk, not a bicycle place. Go on the bicycle lane, and then they start cursing you out, and. So it's not a pleasant thing for citizens to correct people when they're not doing the right thing. So I would appreciate more police enforcement of what our rules are, especially in the summer when you have, I've seen it all the time where the seasonal police will be standing right there, and there goes a scooter, nobody says anything to them, and I don't allow my grandson to use his because I know it's a law here, the ordinance or whatever. So those kinds of things I think would help if there was a little more enforcement. I also think that we have to keep communicating, and I will do that through the beach news, what the rules are, and ask people to walk in walk lanes, ride in bike lanes, all those kinds of things. And because, as Carlos says, people don't want to, they don't want to follow the rules. They might complain about it, but then they abuse them themselves. So from the BBLA hat, when I put up front and center in this last beach news, come to this meeting. I certainly wish we had more people here, but I appreciate the people who did come. We did get some feedback because people write to us, and they said that bicycle safety was a joke here. And that upset me because I do think you're trying. I do think but I think we all have those of us who ride bicycles have bicycle horror stories. And so that's why I'm going to emphasize again that it needs to be a priority of this town to do a study to help us have safer biking and safer walking.
Thanks, Mary Louise. Appreciate it. Any? Please, why don't you?
I got Gary Anderson, and I live 33395 Starfish Court. Been coming here pretty much all my life. Here 4 months out of the year now, and I bike every day down here. So I've seen a lot of changes. The one question I would have on the bicycle safety days, do you all communicate, mainly to bikers, sort of the bicycle passing etiquette, so that if somebody's coming up on pedestrians or coming up on a slower bicyclist, the call out to let them know you're coming? Because I've done that all my life biking, but I know being down here as much as I am, that doesn't happen. And I might be riding along and somebody flies by me and practically knocks me off my bike. And I think, gosh, just a little bit of courtesy, call out to somebody, or if you got a bell, ring your bell. But I don't know if that's included in some of the communication on the bicycle safety days, but it should be, because it's just common courtesy to shout out, maybe not shout out, but let somebody know you're coming up on them, especially a pedestrian. And most people that I pass doing that, they thank me for doing that. So, just an observation.
So, Gary, thank you for your comments. So, there's a lot of things around behavior, and we've been making notes of all these as we go through here. And part of the connection back is particularly around behavior. As we were talking about Wave 3.0, which is wait, watch, assess, verify, and then enter, right? Which is really applies whether you're a walker, biker, or driver. But the team started to look on last year, thinking about that as a sort of a big umbrella, if you will. And there's a whole bunch of things underneath that are very specific. For example, what you just said, bicycle etiquette, right? Letting people know you're coming, right? Getting that confirmation from them. That can be something we could put together a video on, share it, remind it, and also, right, may find a way to connect with the bicycling communities here. We've worked with some of the Bike Delaware and others who do the same thing, right? So there's some really good commonality here of how we can try to impact that behavioral piece, right? So thank you, sir.
So the other thing we've noticed by talking to people is there are a lot of etiquette issues, like the one you just brought up, that like a lot of us were taught growing up, but not as many as you think were taught that growing up. It's the same thing about walking against traffic versus walking with traffic. So that's, thank you. It's come up before, and it's kind of shocking how many people weren't taught this as children, and scary, honestly.
Yeah, if I could, I cannot agree with you more, Gary. I bike around here a lot, and I'm just shocked at the lack of etiquette from so many people. And I took a spill last fall because, again, somebody came up on my right-hand side, no warning, banged into me, and the next thing I know, I'm partially on Route 1, which was not pleasant. I don't know exactly how to drive this. We've talked about various ideas. I mean, when I was in Northern Virginia and biking on the trails there were a lot of signs. I mean, again, you tell people when you're coming up to them that make them aware of where you are. You always pass on the left. You use, just common sense out there. There are other people out here besides you. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be the case a lot of times down here, and it becomes a real issue. Yeah. And so, again, I'm not sure what the answer is, whether we need to post signs along the highway and to kind of reiterate those points, whether we've talked about perhaps having like handouts, tear sheet handouts at the bike shop to, again, drive home some of these points. We've talked about potentially doing short videos, again, just to make people aware, because I think this is a big issue. And again, the more people that come down here, the more congested the shoulders and the bike and the biking areas get. And I think we need to reemphasize this point. For example, like when you go out to Fresh Pond to walk, one of the things that's nice is they do have signs out there that completely outline and reinforce the etiquette. And I think that's really good. It's not ideal. Some people, there's going to be people that aren't going to follow the rules no matter what. But I think that helps. So again, specifically, we're thinking about maybe doing signs. Do you think that would be helpful?
I would say you haven't done a lot of mountain biking as well. When you mountain bike, there are signs everywhere on good trails.
Right.
That say this is the etiquette that's expected, whether it's a walker or somebody that's on a horse.
This is being recorded and broadcast.
Or a bike. So, I don't know if signs like that posted would help, something like that. But I can tell you, I've mountain biked all over the country, and you see those kind of signs everywhere on mountain bike trails, and it works. Most of the time, people are pretty courteous about, if they're coming up on you, they let you know they're coming up on you. So that's just an observation. I would definitely say local bike shops play a role in this. So people renting bikes, they should be told, hey, could you please make sure that whoever's renting bikes or coming in to get their bike repaired, you just remind them, hey, there's an etiquette that's expected down here between pedestrians and other bikers. So respect that etiquette. So just a reminder, it's an easy thing to do.
Exactly.
A card they give out. But local bike shops definitely play a role in helping with that issue. And believe me, I live down here now most of the year, and there's a lot of bike shops down here. They can make a difference.
A quick thought that I had that came up as this last point is being discussed. I think that having a poster, a sign, like at the entrance, at every entrance to the beach, there's bike racks. Put it front and center. Don't try to put everything in the poster, but just put the key things that folks want to read or should be able to read. Make it an easy read, but make it obvious. Every rack at the entrance of the beach should have one.
That's great. Well, I mean, awareness, I think, is a real key moving forward. And again, we talk about, you've got bikers coming one direction, you've got walkers coming another. So when people come to an intersection, they really have to make a point of observing their surroundings. And I can't tell you how many times somebody will look the direction that they think that, like on Route 1, the traffic's coming and they don't look the other way and you've got somebody coming that direction, you could have an accident. So again, specifically in a number of instances, people should be, when they come up to a place to stop, is they need to look both ways to make sure that, that it's safe to cross. And so again, that could be something, again, could be, maybe we have more signs doing that, maybe we need to do the videos, whatever. We just need to get the message out there, because again, the more people that are using the community facilities, the more we have to make people aware. I think the engagement is just really important. And that can be done, I think, very, quickly and effectively, because again, you can't, it's hard to dictate what you consider to be common sense. I mean, a lot of us, again, were raised on doing certain things certain ways, but other people just clearly aren't, weren't raised that way or trained that way. And we just have to make, I think, a more concerted effort to just make people aware that we're all in this together. And we'll be safer and happier if we're all just kind of a little more sensitive to what's going on around us.
Bob, before you, is there anyone else who came today that hasn't had a chance to speak that was like, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so. Okay, that's fine. No, I just want to make sure everybody gets, before we, yeah, that's all. Go ahead, Bob. I think you got.
Yeah, just a quick comment. We're talking about awareness, letting people know, what things should be done, how you should be doing it. But you got to remember, the population here, a good 80% of the population is transient, vacationers. It's hard to make them aware. It's hard, we can come up with some great ideas, handing pamphlets out at the bicycle shop. But unless you make hard traffic awareness, putting signs, no turn on red, like I suggested here, no turn on red, making those hard requirements, I think will probably be more successful than awareness, because we're all aware. I'm here full-time now. Yeah, and it's great this time of year. You rarely see anybody on the bicycle on the sidewalks here, but you don't have to worry about getting hit by a car here when you're making that crossover. But the time of year when you do have all the vacationers and everything that's going on, we need to make some hard traffic decisions, like Bill said, like I recommended. There's some things we could do here on Kent. People with their trees grown right up to the intersection. We're on Fairway, you almost got to get into the intersection to make sure nobody's coming across. So awareness is good, but we have to deal with that vacation population that comes in.
I just want to do a follow-up also. I think I completely agree. If you make a couple of changes like it's been suggested, and then in the spring, the committee does an article for Coastal Point and says Bethany is taking, public safety very seriously, and these changes have been made, and here are the things, the etiquette that's expected, because we talked about, the people that live here in the 1 square mile, but as we know, everybody else around here thinks they also live in Bethany, and they bike here, and they're here all the time, and they're reading that paper, and they'll say, okay, I got to make sure when I come to Bethany, and there'll be more enforcement, and then this and that, and so I would suggest that the committee write a article in this, end of the spring when people are really gearing up to come here, and say what you've done and what you expect.
Thank you. Jen, I'm sorry, I didn't want to, you've been very patient, so I want to get your, thanks, Mary Louise.
Thank you, Rosemary. I have a few singing engagements coming up, so I'm trying not to touch anything. I'm being, what's his name? Howard? Anyway, I'm being a germaphobe, I'm sorry. Okay. The first thing that comes up is entitlement. We're talking about awareness and behavior. It's called entitlement. We've talked about this before. How do you combat entitlement? All of these suggestions will help. I I think dealing with entitlement, becomes a self-responsibility. I think that's what you were saying. What am I responsible for in this town when I come and I'm on my bike or I'm walking around as a person? You talk about DC, that's horrendous. They've put up those piling little things, those little plastic things. They've done everything. And I'm not coming down just on the cyclists, but the pedestrians do it too. Just flying through intersections, and there's a red light, there's a yellow light, and they just go. Officer Foley, I can't imagine having to patrol people's entitlement, right? I mean, it's just, how do you do that? But we constantly try, everyone. I mean, as citizens, it's up to us to try. Let's see. I think it would be really great, because I said this before, like we should all wear t-shirts that say metal wins, which is a really terrible thing, but it does. So my thing is, that means that even if you think you're right, and you have the right of way, metal will win, because you won't be around to stand up to say, but I was in the crosswalk. So your awareness is correct, but I think we need to begin to be brutal about the outcomes. So my point would be, if the police department could come up with short videos that show theater, a dramatic outcome to opening your door into the bicycle lane, like I just did it here. I looked at my side view mirror, I'm like, oh man, a bike's coming. So I just sat there, and I kind of wiggled my door so that he could see that I was there too. But I was not going to open it up and have him bash into my door. That's a really simple situation. The other situations you all are talking about are lethal, right? They're lethal. And I think that's what we're not talking about things dramatically enough, and we don't want to scare everybody, but these are normal outcomes to not being aware and not being responsible about yourself and about your where you are and what's happening. I wish that if the police department would do these little videos, like I used to teach high school, the police department did they took a crunched car and put it on its side or upside down on a high school campus, and then had a whole day of, why is this here? Prom's coming. What is your behavior? What should your behavior be about prom to not have this outcome? And again, it sounds brutal, but I think we need that, because we're all going, la, 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 I'm riding my bike, I'm at the beach, and that's great. But we need to be thinking also about those outcomes. And again, I'm a very visual person, that's why I'm saying videos. So if you had a couple of short things, like this is what happens when, this is why we don't do this, this is why Bethany is so strong on our rules for biking and peds and all that. This is why, because we care about you. We don't want this to happen, and neither do you. And again, metal wins. Officer, what is the amount of a ticket, or are tickets given for pedestrian or cyclist offenses? Is there an amount?
Not as high as you'd think. There's a lot of education that goes into it, but not as many tickets as you'd think. And I'll touch on that when we're done.
But there is an amount. I mean, like if somebody gets stopped and they get a ticket, it's like at least $25, something.
There's a minimum. Bicycle-related offenses are $98.50.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, that hits home. That's a couple of dinners out, or maybe one at Parkway. I love Parkway. Okay. And I got this idea also because I've been watching, Facebook. We were talking about YouTube. Hi, everybody. But Facebook has those reels, and I've started, unfortunately, I watched a couple of the dash cam ones, and then the algorithm kicks in, and so they keep on throwing them at me. But I think my driving has improved. I'm a good driver, but on this, like 404, on 26, on whatever, and you're going fast, I think my acuity has become really finite because of seeing those crashes happen and the idiots that make them happen. That's what I'm talking about. Like here, I'm watching totally. Used to be a nice drive from DC, from Bethesda. It's not. I mean, you can't do anything other than drive. But anyway, that's where I got this idea that, again, these short things, if somebody sees enough of those, they're going to go, oh my God, Oh my God, it'll stick in your head. It'll go in. It's like brainwashing. About the rentals, could there be, the owners of the properties, could there be also some kind of, I guess you all put the WAVE pamphlet in at rental place, like Crowley and whatever, Long and Foster, whatever, that they give them out to their renters, that the owners put it in their little, every rental place has like hopefully a little folder, right? And also the realtors can have it on their little newsletters and everything. I think that would be really good with the rules, as you were saying, that, the pedestrian and the cyclist courtesy. Maybe that's how you say it. Pedestrian and cyclist courtesy in Bethany. This is what we want to happen. I'm looking real fast, sorry. I wrote everything down and let's see. Again, police, I'm sorry, but I'm not. Because if you're doing those bicycle safety days in July and August, and it's like, is there one in July and one in August? Because I see them on Facebook, so it's really cool. Could you do, again, a little offering of, we're going to talk about bikes and pedestrians on Mondays at 4 p.m. here in Town Hall. And you put that out to the owners of properties who also rent, but everyone. We're going to do this. You want to come by and it's going to be 15 minutes. And we'll go over our courtesy rules and give out bike lights if you whatever. But if it were, repetition is our friend. The more we do something like that that's 15 minutes, or like these short reels kind of videos, and we put them on the website, and we put them on Facebook as, this is blah, blah, blah. The more repetition, that's where you get the awareness. Just saying, here's waves, this is what we mean, and you guys are doing a great job of that. Here it is. It's just got to be repeated and repeated and repeated. And I'm repeating myself, sorry. The other thing I was wondering about, this is on topic but off topic, but it's safety. I'm on the board for the BBLA and Bethany Farmers Market, and we just updated our sign, our market sign, to include the scooters and the bikes and the blah, 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 not to have those things, and along with animals, other than service animals in the market. And I'm wondering if the town has, now it's dog time, right, on the beach. That's great. But now is this free-for-all? Are we aware of what happens when a dog gets loose or anything? A cat came into my property here and was hissing at me yesterday. I was trying to shoo it because it was going to do some nasty thing, and it wouldn't go. It kept on hissing at me, and I thought, somebody has to be in control of their pets. So anyway, that's a concern also. We've got pedestrians and cyclists, and we've got now dogs or whatever. The other thing is Kent to double bridges. I know that's state, but I have mentioned this before when we were talking about Collins, about dumping people onto a road that was not safe. And now that section, our section of Kent, is safer. Okay, that's great. And to go down Wellington and lead people to the highway, I still think there's an issue there. But you're talking about, again, infrastructure for cyclists and walkers. Kent is huge for, it isn't huge, but it's a huge, hugely desirable place to bike and then get to double bridges or go Muddy Neck or whatever, and it's fabulous. But I think more needs to be done with the state, just really hammer down on them about how dangerous that road is right now. The shoulder, which is not marked, looks like it's about 2 feet. I may be wrong, but it really looks small on the west side, west-north side. On the south and east side, it looks even smaller, narrower. And then it's just a little bit of rugged grass and then a ditch. So you can't go anywhere, if something happens. So I implore you to talk to the state about that. Let's see, rentals, blah, 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 Collins. I saw just recently, and again, to talk to the state, the markings on the road on the new path on Kent on the west side, as you turn off of Collins onto Kent to walk or bike or whatever, the pedestrian symbols for walking are like crunched together. They had their heads almost hitting, with saying which way to walk. So, and then the bicycle one is there. So it's like, you look at it and kind of go, whoa, which one is me? So it would be good if somebody could look at that and maybe have the state separate the little walking people so that they can read better. Again, I'm an artist, so it doesn't read well. I think that's it. Thank you very much. And I'm Jen Carter, 429 Collins. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. So let me just come back to one comment, because I think it's, I think you raised an important part. You used it in the context of this metal winds and the, I guess you said T-shirt or something? No, I know, but I mean, that was a visual view. So I mean, I just want to reiterate one of the things that, that's a foundation, and it's one of the things we're working really hard at, and everybody on this committee and everybody who we work with, is every time we have a conversation with somebody, okay? And I'm talking about a conversation. It's not just about here's the rule, here's the procedure, follow it, or let's have a nice day. It's about the reason we're out here talking to you is we want to prevent hurt, pain, and suffering. So it's not a picture, it's not a video, but I guarantee you everybody in this dais and others try to make that point. And not only with those folks, but we encourage them to take it back to their families and their friends. So we all need to be doing more of that, okay?
Actually, the pictures really help.
Pictures really help, right? But telling a story or having somebody share with them what happened to them, okay? And share that with others. So all that is part of this challenge we have around engaging people and changing their behaviors. Because I really believe, and I'm going to make a comment here, so I apologize, so I'm jumping off script. But my work around safety and risk with DuPont for 40 years, right, has been helping organizations improve. It's not about having more signage. I guarantee you it has nothing to do about more. I mean, you have to have proper signage, right? It's about getting people to engage and understand what that means to them and follow it. And it also means enforcement. I think that's a theme. But the thought of just putting more signs up is not, I believe, not where we're going to gain a lot of gain. It's how do we build, how we have these conversations with people, right? That is, Bob or somebody mentioned, that are somewhat transient in nature, right? They might come here a week, a month. How do we engage them in a way that allows them to think about conducting themselves in a way that avoids hurt, pain, and suffering for them and their families? And that's a challenge, right? It's a challenge. There's some things we can do with video, mechanically, signage, but it is about having those conversations. And we've all had them with people. I'm sure you've had them with people where the light bulb goes on and they go, I get it. And what do we say? We say, well, take that home and talk to your family about it, right? Don't leave it here, right? Share it with them. So thanks for your comments. Lee, please.
Just sitting here, another idea came to me. We've talked about, changing behavior and awareness, and sometimes that's hard to get at, and making a little bit more hard things happen in town. Could we engage the seasonal officers when they see like a family of 8 walking down the street, 8 abreast, go over and gently suggest, or even hand out a pamphlet, these are the rules.
Yeah.
And you would have those engagements with people.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a sign, it's an interaction between people. I think that might go a long way to help.
No, I think you're spot on, and we actually have had some great examples that Chief Foley has shared with his officers, and his seasonal folks have done exactly that, have gone over and above to engage people. So they come with the authority, the stars and bars kind of thing, but do it in a way that's caring, that's focused on not enforcing the rule. It's about, I don't want you to get hurt. So, yeah, can we do more of that? Yeah. Can they do more of it? Yeah. Can we do more of it? Yeah. And I'm not, again, I know I'm sounding a bit reactive, because this is passionate to all of us, right? And we have to find that way to make that connection. So that's a great one. So does anyone else have any comments that are here? Please, Ann. Can you?
Well, she can get a microphone.
We can get you the microphone. I just want to be able to hear you, that's all, and the folks that are listening.
Ann McKinney, 414 Gibson Avenue. So the whole thing that I keep thinking about is education, education, education. And I keep thinking, we have a wonderful library over here that does programs for infants to teenagers. Not saying you're going to get the middle school kids there, but we need to start with them understanding that you do walk facing the traffic, that kind of thing. They just had a program over there about Smokey the Bear. Seriously. And so that means that, you know, they're trying to teach kids, you don't start a fire in the woods or whatever it is. So maybe we could 4 times a year see if the people that are over there would have some kind of program. Also, why not the news station 4 times a year? Or when all this political mess is over with, maybe I'm not saying that things will die down, but maybe we have them come and talk about, at least talk about, hey, can you know, every once in a while when there's a lull in news, start talking about, you know, the safety of bicycle and just walking. There was another thing I was thinking of that might help get across, and I think you do it, Julie, I'm not sure, but something on the screen while you're waiting for the movie to start and everybody's putting their chairs out or whatever, that says, you know, don't forget that just because you have the right of way to walk across the street, and that's my biggest thing is just because the crosswalk's there, metal hurts. Make eye contact. Make sure that when you're crossing, that when we were out, I was just out in Colorado, and it's a university right there. The kids are on the roller balls, the electric bikes, you name it. They cross the street like it's their privilege. There's no looking. And I keep thinking, okay, so you can sue, but you're going to be crippled the rest of your life. Metal hurts. So I'm sorry I'm getting passionate about it, but I don't understand why people don't look before you cross. Make sure that person sees you. There's a sign somewhere out in Selbyville, I think it is, that it has a picture of a bicycle, I think, and it says, look again. I can't remember exactly what it says. Okay. Look again. Look again. Just make sure. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so excited.
No, those are good points, and that's all part of our Wave 3.0, because we've hammered out what Wave is, several different channels, and we've had the brochure, but maybe it's time for a new brochure or the sheet. And honestly, yeah, consistency is great, but then people start to be desensitized to it. Like, oh, there's that Wave thing again. Oh, there's that sign again with the pedestrian being struck. Okay, so it's got to be a constant, what's a new way to reach these people? And also we've talked about how when you come from different towns and cities, you have different rules. So we have to really point out what the rules are in Bethany Beach. So we are all aware of that, and we are actively looking at ways that we can make that fresh information with each new season. That's how we tackle that. So those are good points.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's a vacation mindset too. That they're relaxed. It's vacation mode, so they may not need to. So yeah.
So Ann, thank you.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Your energy and passion really comes across. So thank you. So I want to give a little bit of time, Chief. Would you? I know you.
Sure.
A couple things you'd like to share.
Police department's on the hot seat here today. I got a couple things here. One, I have stars and asterisks next to it. Someone said that bicycle and pedestrian safety is a joke in Bethany Beach. I want to meet them. I want them to come to my office and speak to me. I'm sure that won't happen, but I will give them an invitation and a red carpet to do that. This town, and I'm going to defend the town here, is probably one of the most safest, if not second, in the state of Delaware. I'd say Lewis gives us a run for our money. Mr. Rosenblatt, you were with me. We attended a summit in Wilmington on behalf of DelDOT, and the instructor who works for OHS, who I've worked with for countless years, said to everybody throughout the state, look at Bethany Beach, look at what they're doing, and follow suit of the police department because it's working in front of everybody in the state. That was a great feather in our cap in attendance on behalf of the Pedestrian and Bike Safety Committee. So what we are doing, I'm telling you right now, is working. The pictures on the ground when you cross the bridge, the pictures on the ground that tell you where to walk, in what direction to walk, they work. We have them. Once you cross the bridge, they kind of disappear. They don't have them, and the roads become narrower. Bethany Beach is doing a very good job at giving people places to feel safe. with pictures and how to direct them where to go. Some crosswalks on Route 26, we have 4 of them. There's one at Kenton 26, there's one at Fountain Boulevard in 26, right across from Wawa. There's one across from St. Anne's, and then there's one right in front of DeFebo's. That's where the flashing beacon is going to be installed. We've had traffic studies done numerous times. Those are where the State Route 26 is a state road. Those are where the traffic studies have told us to put crosswalks because of the activity there. Mr. Cavello made a comment about putting one on Candlelight. I don't.
I think I spoke to you a couple times.
Yeah.
Especially the one incident where I almost got hit by the one truck.
Right.
And I know you always say, hey, there was a study done, DelDOT owns that road, DelDOT study says there's not enough people walking to warrant another
Right.
crosswalk, but I think we need to push back on DelDOT, you know? and
So,
push back on those-
speaking of pushing back on DelDOT, that's number 2 on the list here I want to address. Kenton 26, I took over leadership of the police department in April. It was not easy, and it has not gotten any easier. I want to tell you that Kenton 26, that traffic light, kept me awake at 2 in the morning. It haunted me. I've gotten countless, the officers were going to put a joke and put a Kent Avenue street sign in my office on the wall. I called them, and within 18 hours, they came out and did a study. The strips on the ground did not need to be calibrated. The light cycle did not need to be calibrated. I do give them kudos because it was July 7th when they came out. They did their job, and that traffic light, the traffic intersection, I get it, it's backed up. It was a holiday weekend. DelDOT did their job at our request, and I pestered them and pestered. I made myself known as a new chief to DelDOT, and they came out very quickly, and I was very surprised that nothing needed to be addressed. So that was done immediately, yeah.
I want to add to your amendment. That intersection with the right of way with cars coming able to make that right-hand turn, and you got that strip there that allows it almost a half a block to 3/4 of a block. When you're walking out onto that area, you got to watch out for cars because they're all trying to make that right-hand turn.
So we addressed that issue as well, and I believe, Teresa, you were very vocal about that as well.
I walk there all the time. I live on Collins.
I walk there all the
Yeah.
time. It's not bad now, but during the summer, oh yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
We addressed that issue with DelDOT. We gave them the plans that we had, the mapping features, like an aerial view of the intersection. Nothing that they're going to do about it. We heard those concerns. We listened. We tried to do that between council and the police department. It's not going to happen from DelDOT.
Information out there for people, like what the outcome was from questions like that?
We've talked about it in probably the last 2 or 3 meetings. So it's public. It's frustrating, but it's public.
Now, the town, I think Public Works put up a sign that
They
said,
did.
"Caution, beware of cars coming." They even cut back the trees or made the HOA cut back. The town did everything possible to rectify the safety issue at that intersection. Unfortunately, DelDOT, they wouldn't budge at all, at all. The rapid flashing rectangular beacons, they work. I'm telling you right now, that's one of the best things I've ever seen in this town, and I've been here as a seasonal in 2002. That is one of the best things I've seen the town do. It slows people down, the lights flash, it kind of causes panic. The cars are traveling down the road and they slow down for people in the crosswalks. Accidents are contagious because it's people rear-ending the cars that stop. We've had countless investigations of it. Those operators are immediately cited with inattentive driving. There was 11 French J1 students at 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, crossing Central Boulevard, eastbound on the highway. There's not many sober people. I'm not gonna beat around the corner here. There's not many sober people on the road at 1:45 in the morning, especially traveling from Ocean City. Cars slowed down and yielded to 7 or 11 pedestrians who not only hit the button on the western side of the intersection, they hit it again in the middle. Cars slowed down. A drunk driver came up and took out the car and pushed it into a ditch. They're arrested for DUI. Thank God that vehicle stopped and allowed the pedestrians to cross, because if they didn't, we probably would have had 5 or 6 fatalities on our hand in regards to a drunk driver. So everything that's been mentioned, I'm pretty passionate about, not just because I'm in defense mode here, it's just because and I don't live anywhere near Bethany. I feel the same thing as a chief of police. Atlantic and Garfield, he just left a few minutes ago. I wanted to go chase him out and tell him. 22 years, including my seasonal time, that's where I spent most of my summers. Atlantic, absolutely, it's a funnel. Everybody comes into town and they funnel right in that intersection. Not once has this police department, not once, ever investigated an accident, pedestrian involved, motor vehicle involved, or anything else in that intersection. It is chaos. It is absolutely chaos. But it's where everybody is. And there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of patience at that intersection. Doesn't look like it, but as a police officer in my car who sit there and for 6 or 7 minutes stare at Core Brothers and 4 or 5 people get ice cream by the time I can cross my road in a 12-hour shift, I should be more aggravated at that than anybody else, because it happens to us as the police officers more than anything. But you just got to let people cross. You got to have patience when it comes to stuff like that. Next on the list is changing behavior and entitlement. If anybody has any instructions on how to do it, I would really like to attend that workshop as well. Right. Very early in my career, we were mandated, in fact, we were paid overtime as full-time officers to go out and pull over bicycle infractions. This was when the stop signs were erected along Pennsylvania. We were stopped to go out there and pull people over either on bicycle or in a car as a police officer and educate. And if the education didn't work, had to cite. I cannot tell you how awful it is as a police officer to pull over a dad and a 4-year-old son either bicycling on the sidewalk or not riding a bike on Pennsylvania Avenue fully in the bike lane. So when you pull them over, you got to understand the police department's aspect of that. We're enforcing the law, but we're humans as well. So telling a dad and his 6-year-old son who's staring at us in uniform with the utmost respect that they're wrong and they can't do what they're doing when they're just trying to go get some ice cream and riding their bike. Sorry, officer, do you have kids? I don't feel it's safe for my kid to ride in the shoulder of State Route 26 at the time when it was 35 miles per hour. I didn't know I was offending anybody by operating on the sidewalk. I'm sorry. Well, there's red paint right here that says you can't do that. As a police officer, we're put in a very difficult situation. That's what we sign up for. That's our job. That's what we get paid for. But our humanistic approach really gets attacked there when we're telling people that you can't have your 4-year-old on the sidewalk when they should be operating 6 inches from the rearview mirror of a passing car. It's very, very difficult, but we do it. We do it, and we're on the front line there, and we get attacked for it, but we do it. We do our job. So that is done. It's a very difficult situation, especially with 2 young kids, to tell people to do and correct their behavior, but we do it. Next thing, my big thing here, education. It hasn't deviated since this committee was formed. Education over enforcement works. We go to Lord Baltimore School. We're welcomed by Ocean View Police Department there to the 4th grade class. That's when you start learning and riding bikes. We educate them along with Office of Highway Safety on what to do, where to operate, give helmets and all that. We don't have schools in Bethany Beach. There's no surprise here. We take it a step further as a police department. It stopped post-COVID, which I will tell you, we'll get back to it. We would go to Gonzaga High School, not calling people out, Gonzaga High School, Bethesda, Washington, D.C. area high schools, and talk to the senior class a little bit right before senior week when it's fresh in their minds and say, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're not going to do. We pay our officers to go 3 hours out west and leave town to go do that. That's how much we care. It's since gone away post-COVID. I will promise you we will get back to doing that. And it's telling them where to ride a bike, where to get bike lights, how to operate a bike, where to store it, where to lock it, where to buy locks, what to do when you have a party, what not to do when you have a party, and what to do when you see a police officer. And we do all that. We put a lot of effort, a lot of manpower. It's not cheap to do that. And then we come back and we arrest them for X, Y, and Z. So a lot of stuff does fall on deaf ears. The next thing here is having I would do it every Saturday when people check in and invite them to come to the police department and educate them for 15 minutes, I don't think that would happen. I don't think that they would want some kind of set schedule. So we as police officers, we do casual encounters in the summertime. When people are enforcing the law, we kind of walk up next to them. A few committee members have joined us in doing that. Just have casual encounters about what they're doing and how they could do it a little bit safer. And it's education. We pass out pamphlets. Not once in thousands of hours have we ever issued a citation in doing that. Education goes far more than enforcement. But you can't fix everybody at once. And that's the way I want to leave it as a police officer, as a police chief. Everybody on the other side of this police department wearing a uniform does their job. I have a 3x5 flag in my office that says, do your job. Everybody does their job. It's correcting behavior. You get new people every Saturday, and it's very difficult to fix behavior on a continual basis. We don't have these problems really in the off-season. It's more summer. Can't fix behavior with the people that don't want to listen. That's all I got. Sorry.
And I don't think you need microphone for this. I respect everything that you do, so please don't think I was saying, you need, no, this finger is worse than the other one. You need to do this. No. You guys are great. I was just like generating ideas.
Yeah.
So just being a, very old school teacher. Repetition, that's all I'm saying. So thank you.
I certainly did not take it that way. Were you the farmer's market? Yeah. I received 3 complaints from people this summer via email that got forwarded through the town manager's office about electric bikes. Now, electric bikes, you could go to Washington, D.C. and find one on the side of the road and use it with your phone, and it's legal. You come to Delaware, you can't. So most of those people don't know that, so we educate them. And then we educate so much, we start annoying them. And then we enforce the law and ticket them. I got more complaints this summer from the seasonal officers educating about electric scooters. Why is my son being detained and educated on the law? You're not a teacher. Stop violating my son's rights. Those are the emails that we receive as town officials when we're just sticking our neck out there saying, hey, you can't do it. We might even take it to the police bar and have your mom come pick it up. We haven't written one ticket farmers market wise for that. But even the officers that are out there directing traffic for that, they're not going to chase them down because they have a post that they're stating. They get on the radio, and the radio is a lot quicker than anything, and somebody else tracks them down and educates them down the road. So, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mickey, before we wrap this up, there are a couple things that people have mentioned to us that I just want to get on the record. One of them was the candidates' night. There was a couple who lives on Parkwood. I don't remember if it was the 100 block or 200 block, but they asked for speed bumps. So I'd like that to be on our list to consider.
That's right, yep.
And then we've gotten a couple of communications that came up a little bit with Bill, this connecting Central Avenue. So I just want to make sure those 2 things are on the record.
Gotcha. Good. Okay. So I thank you all for your ideas, input. Obviously, we're always open for additional ideas and your thoughts. This has really been helpful for us. What we're going to do is sit back and see how we can, what are the things we can focus on, what we can try to hand off to someone else to get some action going on, and have this be part of our plan for moving into 2025. So those of you who shared your ideas, thank you very much. It's really, really valuable. Those of you who have other ideas down the road, please feel free to share them. And again, I just want to thank everybody in the town and particularly this committee for all their hard work and commitment to this. So, thank you. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
Second.
All
Can
right.
we take a
All
vote?
in favor?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good.
I think we need to move before January.